So, now I have your attention. G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Star Citizen with Mags. So what you've just watched is a recut compilation of all of the videos from ATV of the Javelin-class Destroyer in its intact form. At 480 meters long, 72 meters high, and with a beam of 198 meters, containing 3 decks and more guns than you care to think about, the Javelin is a pure warship designed to engage and kill other capital ships. Unfortunately, it currently only exists in its intact form in the closed test and development servers of SIG themselves. However, in 3.0, Star Citizen backers can take a look at her in person. Kinda. Hidden away on the surface of Daymar, smashed into the side of the cliffs, is the wreck of a Javelin destroyer. Its 480 meters of length is spread over a debris field that's somewhere between 800 meters and a kilometer in range. The site is large enough that if you position yourself correctly, you can actually see the wrecked ship from orbit. Now, to be clear, the wreck itself is a husk. It's meant to be the remains of a Javelin that crashed a long time ago, and it's been scavenged and stripped of everything that's actually useful. And it serves 2 purposes being placed here. One, it gives backers the chance to look at the biggest ship that a player can actually own in Star Citizen, because that is what the Javelin is. And it also serves as a representation for those interested in exploration of the kind of wrecks that you may actually encounter while exploring the surface of planets. Now, the wreck itself is divided into 4 major components: the forward section of the ship, the mid-sections of the ship that are broken into two pieces halfway up the mountain, and the rear section of the ship, the main engineering and engine area, which is split between the very highest slope on the peak of the mountain range that's wedged against, and the top of the mountain range where the lower engines that sheared off in the crash are currently sitting. The forward section of the ship lies on the valley floor at the side of the mountain, and is broken into two components. One of the forward forks lies completely separated and on its own that you can take a look at, with the second of the forward forks still attached to the main hull, which is buried half into the base of the mountain. In the central line of the main hull, in between where the two forks are attached, there is a large circular opening above a cave that's been formed by the wreck. The opening appears to be either a torpedo tube or potentially some other kind of mass driver weapon. Not entirely sure at this point in time, as we don't have the current detailed stats on the Javelin, but this does run the whole way through into one of the mid-sections of the hull up the mountain. To get up to the main section of the ship, you'll either need to jump back in your ship and fly up landing at the site, otherwise you can go around the outside of the still attached fork and climb the side of the mountain, although it is risky. You could potentially slide down and injure yourself in the process. The main hull is split, as I said, into two major pieces, with the bridge off to the left-hand side of the main hull, at least on the left-hand side when approaching from the front section of the ship. From above, you can see the docking bays for potential landing craft, as well as the mount positions for the Javelin's weapons and turrets. If you decide to take a walk around on the top of the central hull, you actually have to be careful of these because it is hollow underneath, and from the highest points on the ship, it's about a 30-meter drop. Towards the rear of the ship, you come to the engine nacelles, which are actually large enough to land a ship inside, as you can see. There's actually enough space inside the nacelles to land multiple Gladiuses, and it is possible to actually wedge a Freelancer in there, although it is risky to do. Heading back across the rear of the ship, we have the main rear engineering section with the intact upper engines. The engines on the cliff face are actually the lower engines. They're supposed to have sheared off as the ship went through the mountain range and came to its current position. While the ground on either side of the main hull is a little uneven, it is entirely possible to land larger ships there, and a live stream last night I actually put a Constellation down just in front of the bridge section, and there's plenty of space to land on the far side of the main hull. Now, there's no real missions or reason to come here outside of seeing the inside and looking at the actual size and scale of the Javelin itself, but in all honesty that's enough. It's one thing to read the numbers 480 meters long, it's one thing to read the numbers for the beam at 180 meters and that it's got 3 decks and it's 72 meters tall, but it's quite another to actually come to the wreck of the Javelin and see the ship in the correct scale inside of the engine to realize exactly how massive it is. Now, the bridge can be a little awkward to access. The staircase to the bottom sometimes will be a little bit difficult to get up. If you have issues with this, you head around the top of the mountain and then come down and jump through the top section of the bridge. Most of the bridge has been scavenged, although it's the only place you will find control consoles, which are for some reason still sparking. I don't really think they should be with the age of the wreck, and you get an idea for the scale of the bridge. The bridge itself is actually large enough that if it was open-topped, you could land the Gladius inside the bridge without hitting the walls or the main central console. In the centre of the room, of course, is the platform for the large holographic sensor sphere or map. This is likely your navigation section of the Javelin, where the captain will tell the ship where to go and monitor what's going on in the surrounding battles. Forward section of the ship has the controls for where the pilot of the Javelin will be sitting. Now, I should point out that this isn't the entirety of the Javelin's command deck. The command deck on the Javelin, the bridge on the Javelin, is actually 2 decks. This is the upper deck, the main command deck. The lower deck is actually cut off and buried inside of the mountain, so it's inaccessible at this time. Heading towards the midsection of the ship, you'll find a massive split in the main hull, which you'll be able to enter and have a look at the skeletal remains of the inside of the main hull. There's not a huge amount in here outside of the structure, although it is worth remembering that roughly half the Javelin is actually buried underground in this particular wreck site. So what you're seeing here is actually only the top 50 to 60% of the actual height of the Javelin internally. And again, there's not a huge amount to do here outside of just take a look at the site, but that is part of the major reason for coming here. To give explorers a reason to actually explore within the 3.0 alpha, which is why the Javelin is not actually marked on a map and you have to find your way to it, and to give those who want to see what the scale of the largest player-ownable ship in the game will actually be. Keep in mind, this wreck is the representation of a ship that you will be able to purchase in-game when Star Citizen goes live, and you will be able to crew and fly yourself. Of course, with something on this scale, you wouldn't be able to do it alone. The absolute bare minimum skeletal crew that is required to run a ship the size of the Javelin is 12. But if you actually want to make the ship operate at full efficiency, you will need 80 people to make this thing work. So, for those who do not want to explore and just want to go and check out the site for yourselves, this is the part where I'm actually going to tell you how to get there, and I'm going to do a little bit differently. There's a few tutorials on how to actually get to the Javelin wreck using measurements from various sites on the planet. I'm just going to show you on the map. So, the first thing you need to do, engage Quantum Drive and get yourself into Daymar orbit. And from this point you want to jump to OEM1, OEM2, the navigational beacons around the outside of the moon. It doesn't really matter which one you go to, you just want to get within the region. This puts you in the rough vicinity of the Javelin from space. From there you want to open up the star map and make sure you have Daymar selected as your navigational point, and this will give you a red line from your current position directly to the core of the planet. This allows you to find your way around. From there you want to rotate the map so that you have 2 points on the planet visible, Dunlow Ridge and ArcCorp 141, and they should be on the right hand side of your star map. Dunlow Ridge is 197 kilometers from the wreck site. ArcCorp is 241 kilometers from the wreck site, but this doesn't really matter. Unless you're trying to navigate at night, you can do this just visually. From here, you want to rotate the map, make sure these are just on the horizon line to the right hand side, and then you want to zoom in on the map, and you're looking for a series of depressions inside of a mountain range. I'm going to highlight these for you here. Now, this set of depressions in elevated terrain with a plane off to one side is actually really distinctive. There's nothing like it anywhere else on Daymar, so it will stand out once you start looking for it. Now, to make sure you've got the right point, there is one particular feature you can look for. In the largest and most northern lowlands area, there is a distinctive Y-shaped ridgeline running through the center of it. There is nothing else like this anywhere on the planet, and this is just a little to the north of the location of the Javelin. The Javelin itself is at exactly the location that my ship is floating over at the moment. If you look closely at that section of the map, the second lowlands area has a small split in it with a single mountain range running towards the northwest. That center ridgeline forms the valley that the Javelin is in, and the Javelin is on the southernmost wall of that valley. If you're having trouble finding the place, or you need the numbers for navigation at night time, as you won't be able to see the Javelin quite so easy, it's 197 kilometers from Dunlow Ridge and 241 kilometers from ArcCorp 141. With this, you should have no trouble finding the place if you don't want to do the exploration for yourself. Once you've descended into the atmosphere, you'll get a shot like this from about 5 kilometers above. This is what the area looks like with the Javelin smack bang in the center of the screen. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to check out the links in the video description down below. There are links to my Patreon. My patrons are the lifeblood of my channel, as well as links to all of my social media and my Discord server, and a link to my Twitch channel where I will be streaming Star Citizen more and more regularly. For those of you who are interested in Star Citizen but haven't created an account yet, there is a link with a code to create a Star Citizen account down below. You'll get an extra 5,000 credits when the game launches, and creating the account costs absolutely nothing. You do not have to put any money down, just secure an account and your character name. For those of you who do have Star Citizen accounts and are interested in joining an organization, links to my Unprofessionals organization are also in the video description down below. Anyways, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching again, and until next time, remember to click that like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, I'll catch you around the verse.